Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Another Angle. As you know, we are all about improving health and fitness, and today we have a guest who will definitely be able to help you with the second part. Please welcome Daniel Maccarroll, who is an instructor and a personal trainer. Please, Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm originally from New Zealand. I've been in London just over 6 years now. Initially came over to London to a dance career. I trained in New Zealand as a contemporary ballet dancer. And so I came over here and auditioned and did a number of tours and worked with independent dance companies. And that was for about a year. And then I was kind of like, okay, I need something a little bit more. I was working in hospitality, doing sort of functions and events in between dance contracts and things like that. And I got a little bit tired of that, and I sort of wanted something that was had a little bit more progression and something that I was a little bit more interested in. So I found a job at a gym. One of my housemates was initially working for One Rebel and the whole kind of startup and creation of it. And she sort of said, "Oh, why don't you come and get a job? Apply for there when they're opening in January." So I met with the directors and people involved at One Rebel. This is before the doors opened, and got a job there. Started as front of house at One Rebel when they first opened, and then just kind of found my feet in the gym and just sort of loved the environment, loved the product, what it was kind of offering. It just kind of everything sort of kept rolling, and through that I then went on and did my PT course, my personal training course, and fitness instructing qualifications, which I just loved. A lot of the time when I was a dancer, it was about sort of challenging my body and the physical capabilities of what my body could do. So then when it came to training, it sort of all just kind of fell into place and all kind of came together. And then from there, became an instructor, and then just accumulated more and more classes, and then became a full-time instructor. And then 5 years later, kind of here we are today, I guess. I don't really follow too much dance anymore, which I do miss. It's something that's kind of has created the kind of foundation as the trainer I am and the things that I kind of look for in my classes. And
I think one thing that just to share with our listeners is that we have been to your class. That was our first experience of One Rebel. Was just me, Natalia, and Harry from the team. We just wanted to come and test and try One Rebel UK, and you were the instructor there. And we saw, like, what we really loved about the class, beside that it was perfectly designed to get you sweating for 45 minutes nonstop, was the fact that as an instructor, you were enjoying it as well. And I think I think a little bit taps into your dance background, I think, because it's all like music induced, a lot of like...
It's the performance.
Yeah, performance, yeah.
Yeah.
So you feel this was kind of the perfect match, like that combined your love for dancing with music along with fitness?
Yeah, it kind of encompasses it all. Sort of, teaching a class, you are, in a sense, on a show and performing and delivering to customers. I think that's the big thing about fitness instructors versus PTs, and I think why performers make such a great transition to fitness instructors is because they are performing. They're offering a lot and creating more than just a workout, but creating an atmosphere and a vibe and an energy that you don't create as much with one-on-one training.
Do you feel that it is the natural transition for performers to actually move into fitness afterwards? Yeah. Because I can tell you from someone that was completely out. Okay, I wasn't always out of shape. I used to play sports, and I actually worked in hospitality as well. So I was a bartender for a few years. Okay. And I can tell you one thing, that once I got myself into fitness, my life sort of changed. For me, it was more becoming a bit more focused. I think that is the ultimate thing, that it put my life in perspective. So it kind of allowed me to arrange my priorities. It did definitely help me think ahead as well, from a career's perspective. And it did induce some energy in me, which is something that I was lacking at a certain point in my life. So I would love to know, how was your experience in that transition?
I think people underestimate the kind of the benefits of exercise, and no matter what kind of exercise it is, but how much that can create energy, whether it is like a mental energy and just clearing some headspace, or physical energy, if your body's moving, you're creating that blood flow to essentially keep your vital organs and everything inside working as productively as they can. As soon as you stop and become a little bit more sort of sedentary, sort of losing that. So it definitely has a kind of external, internal kind of benefits.
Absolutely.
I've always been, growing up in New Zealand and in the countryside, I was always active. So sport and just playing outside and just being an active kid. On the weekends we'd go and play on our bikes, and we'd always be moving around and things like that. But I think that also my, that kind of generation. And for me, I guess I never really had a transition from moving into fitness. Fitness has always been a massive part of, but I guess it's been kind of delivering fitness and being a part of other people's journeys. So people that haven't necessarily had that same history, but are kind of finding exercise and finding that passion for it, which is really exciting. It's something that's really special to be a part of when you have someone come to you that hasn't been in the gym or hasn't exercised, and then really put off by it at first, but kind of really take the plunge because they know that it's a priority and they need to make it a priority. And then all of a sudden it just, the whole kind of turns, and they become, fitness fiends. They go from someone who hasn't done any exercise to someone that wants to train and move their bodies. And that's a really nice thing to be a part of. And that's really rewarding as a trainer and as a coach and things like that, when people make fitness a priority.
And I think one thing as well, like, is kind of becoming very obvious now that the community theme around fitness is on the spike.
Yeah.
Not just like in the Scandinavian countries, but also in the US. It's on a whole different level there as well.
Working out has become a social activity as opposed to a chore, as opposed to something that you need to do. It's become something that people want to do, which I think is massive, and that's why it's sort of grown, because people actually want to go and work out and want to do active things with their friends, rather than feeling like, oh, I need to go for a walk, or I need to do some exercise.
So now, talking about fitness becoming more of a social activity where you're actually going and meeting other people who are like-minded as you are. As you know, we are going into this lockdown with COVID-19, and social distancing is the theme or the key message. How do you see this having an impact on the whole landscape of fitness?
Everything has sort of been put into perspective and stopped, in a sense, of the whole social interaction and things like that. But I think we are incredibly lucky that in this day and age that we have the use of social media and things like that, where we can actually interact without having to physically interact. If you imagine 15 years ago or whatever, where we didn't have the social platforms that we do today, having to be in lockdown would be a whole different kind of story. But if you look on Instagram, it's filled with live workouts, with people cooking. So it has a whole nother interaction that I think people are now using. It's almost like they're using those platforms to interact rather than to show what they've got, which is a really positive message, I think, especially for social media and things like that. People can get quite kind of dampened by and just using it as a platform to express what they've got. But now, being in lockdown, people are kind of using it to communicate and to bring other people in a little bit more. There's so many people doing live workouts and things like that now. As long as we kind of keep that up, we'll get through it, because we still have that interaction. Although it might not be physical interaction, you're still kind of getting energy and energy in a different way from other people.
And at the end of the day, we're all social creatures, so no matter what happens, we're just gonna come back to stick together, I guess.
Yeah.
So in your opinion now, like, people are assuming that this might last they're hoping that it might only last for the next 3 months, and hopefully we'll come out of it much stronger and much better as well. But over these 3 months, what do you think the impact of COVID-19 would have on our bodies? Do you feel that this will dampen our efforts into staying fit, or do you think this is not having that much of an impact on people or your clients?
Yes and no. It's very easy to let it have a negative effect or dampen your training and your physical gains, in a sense, or what your goals and what you're trying to achieve. But I think, especially where a customer comes and does a class, that individual, I guess, now has to be a little bit more accountable for prioritizing part of their day or going out of their way to find the exercise or the activity that they want to do, rather than, okay, I know 6 a.m. every morning I get up, I go and do my class. Whereas now that that's not available, now they have to become a little bit more accountable and kind of decide what they're going to do instead, which can be a challenge. But I think as there's so much being pushed out, it is still easy for you to kind of get back into a routine to exercise. But yeah, I think we, as individuals, we are now a little bit more just accountable for how we spend our days, what we choose to do with our time, and what we choose to do with our bodies, and again, what we choose to input into our bodies. We can be really strict with ourselves, and we have the time now to focus on what we're putting into our mouths and how we're eating and our diet and things like that, because there's less stresses in a sense of time having to rush around town and things like that. But also we can think about the specific things that our body needs. So, for example, if there's an individual that needs to work on a little bit more mobility, or there's injuries and things like that that have been kind of flaring up with when they've been in class, but they've kind of pushed them aside because they just want to exercise. But now's the time for us to address those little things and fix them and figure out how we can actually move better and or make those minor adjustments within our diet, within our training, to actually in 3 months' time come out and actually, okay, there might be some things I'm not as running fit as I was before, but my body's moving stronger, my alignment. There's definitely things that we can focus on now that we would potentially push aside if we were functioning as a normal society.
In our busy days, yeah, exactly. I think that was something that I was discussing once with a friend of mine who was saying that this time is basically the perfect opportunity for, I think, the world to take a breath. I think it's been quite, over the past 10 years, if you look back, the amount of things that as a world, as a whole planet, we've been going through is crazy. If you look at it, like one thing after the other, and our routines have become more busy than ever. Social media is just keeping us distracted nonstop.
Everything's just been like going and going and going.
Nonstop, exactly. So a lot of people are feeling that this is like a moment to catch a breath and to really look into things that they've been like procrastinating on and just trying to address those bits and pieces. But at the same time, some people can come back to you and say like, yeah, but it's having an influence on my routine. Like I had a very good routine. I had the perfect.
No one likes change, right? No one likes change.
Yeah. So now, as you know, like there's a lot of things going on about home workouts, right? I think even One Rebel UK is now doing these live streaming sessions for training, so people can keep fit and keep at it, basically. But so are every single other PT out there. If you look at the whole,
it's flooded.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so I think there's so much out there. I feel like everyone that has some kind of any sort of form of fitness or like a dip into fitness is like, everyone's creating content, which is really awesome to see. And, like every individual will find something different in a different person, So I think the more content and the more that is being put out there, I guess the more choice that we have, in the same way that you have going and doing classes, the more option, the more variety and things like that. So I think as an individual and as a customer or whatever, you just have to continue to follow the ones that you enjoy and the ones that keep you motivated. But it's potentially also an opportunity to try something new, have that time and be like, oh, I don't know this person, but so-and-so recommended it. Why don't I try that half-hour yoga session? If you don't like it, you're not wasting any money. It's not as if you're going to pay to go and do that class. But I think it is an opportunity to potentially try something new or try another trainer that you haven't been exercising with. Although change is scary, now we're being forced to change. We're being forced to kind of be out of our comfort zone. So why not kind of roll with that and keep sort of pushing the comfort zone a little bit in the sense of how you exercise and how you move?
It's really interesting that you mentioned this, because obviously it's like for the general consumers or the general public, it's a free content that is available and people can just access it. And it's a way for the providers or the instructors to really be able, or even like the companies that actually support these sessions, to stay relevant to their audiences, right?
Yeah.
But from a financial model, it does not make a lot of sense.
No.
How do you think providers or instructors can really go around that, or just to be able to keep the steady stream of income coming in through these channels, if there was a way that you can think of?
That's the tricky point, and I think that's, as a self-employed, we'll find out a little bit later today what kind of support the government is potentially going to be giving us. But that is tricky because obviously now with live workouts and things, it is all free content, it's free classes. So then trying to, I guess, finding ways to is a little bit tricky. Or I work along with my classes and things. I have a few online clients that I work with. I program for them on a daily basis. Some of them are a couple of times a week, 2 or 3 times a week, and others are a little bit more regular. And a few of them have sort of increased the amount of time that they want to train. So that's all online. I send them workouts through an app that they follow, and then we kind of sort of touch base. So there's no contact or anything, which I think is a great way as a PT and as a coach kind of thing. Hopefully there will be a little bit more of that, but in a class base, and that kind of, I guess it's more about the motivation and just to kind of keep people moving. It's a tricky thing to try and monetize from live workouts and things like that, unless you're sponsored. Or
online coaching has been on the rise as well, like over the past few years, and a lot of PTs have actually built empires on that. As you may know, like one of them is Joe Wicks, as you may well know him. He's one of the most famous ones as well in the scene. And Do you expect to see more of that coming in the post-COVID
I
time?
think so. It's a great kind of avenue for people that you can't get outdoors, you can't go to classes. So, okay, how can I train get the benefits? And I think with online coaching and things like that, you can be a lot more specific with people. So you can work on their weaknesses and give them specific exercises or specific training and things that they need to do. So this is the perfect opportunity to do that. And so if you kind of find clients or whatever that are willing to get on board, 3 months down the track, they'll see the benefits that it has made. And it might not necessarily be every day that they want to train, but they'll want to keep it going because they're potentially learning new things or honing in on specific they know that their body needs that they don't get when they go to classes and big group fitness environments. I do a lot of CrossFit and strength and conditioning, and I've been working with my coach for almost 3 years now. And it is challenging at times because you are working on your own, but it's specific. So if you want specific results, doing specific tasks, it's just kind of as simple as that.
So as you know, there's a lot of people now like on the internet looking for the best instructor to follow or the best program to really adhere to. What would your advice be to them? Like previously you said, like find what you like and try different things and then stick. Would there be like any kind of approach for them to really have it in a quicker way, let's say, to find quickly what they want? Or is it just like try a lot of things as quickly as possible?
I don't think necessarily trying a lot of things. You know, if people have been exercising and been going to the classes or going to the gyms that they like and that they resonate with, it's just a matter of particular instructor that they like, that they kind of work well with. I think that's a perfect kind of avenue. So then you go on board with online from there. You know, not all fitness instructors in that offer that service, but I think potentially further down the track and in the next couple of weeks, potentially doing more of. I guess as a consumer, it's just finding someone that works for you. You know, as a coach as well, it's being able to work with your athletes and work with the person, even if you might be completely different in the way that you view ideas, but a good coach will work with that client as opposed to the client having to try to accommodate for the coach.
I think you would be the perfect person to ask this question to, because you are in a position where you have a coach that have been coaching you for some time, and you're also an instructor to a lot of people at Run Rebel UK. So if we were to ask you, like, how did you find your coach? Like, what did you look for when you chose your coach?
I was working with a friend of mine who had been working with my coach for a while, and so I saw the kind of programming, the exercises, and the things that he had been doing, giving her. It was a really easy decision for me to make because it was someone, almost a recommendation. And I think, you know, that's one of the biggest things is if someone you know has recommended something, you trust them. It's all about creating trust. And so it was a very easy decision for me to make in that terms.
As you know, as an instructor, you just said a key word here, which is building trust. Instructors, the key thing I think that they always aim for is to build that trust so they can build their brand as well, because it's a personal brand that you're building as an instructor at the end of the day. So what advice would you give to other instructors to be able to build that brand, that self-brand for themselves, and be able to bridge that trust with their clients and to have more outreach to more clients as well?
I think it's just about knowing who you are as a coach or as an instructor. Know what you kind of stand for and what your goals are with your athletes or with anyone that comes to your class. You know, you can't please everyone. So especially in a fast-paced class environment, it's very, you know, sometimes you might be asking something that someone doesn't agree with, but it's very hard to communicate in a fast-paced class environment. So and that's where I guess just being open to new people coming in that might not understand how you are, but it's being able to try to adapt to different individuals and being accommodating as you can. But yeah, knowing what you stand for as a coach and knowing how you like to go about things, I think is really important. It's very hard to kind of cover everything and being a little bit more specific with your coaching approach and the way that you do things, I think is really important.
Are there any names that are out there that you are keeping an eye on as instructors that you feel that they're doing that pretty well? Of course, you are doing great. I know that, like, because we're following you, and that's why we are also hosting you in our podcast. But are there any kind of people that you feel that they are doing it right?
I haven't got any specific names and things like that, but I think everyone is doing what they can to kind of spread positive energy and just to keep people moving. You know, I think especially on social platforms and things like that, very few people are making money off doing their live workouts. So And I think that's a really important message for instructors. Is they've got a lot to give, and they only want people to be better and to move better and live well. And I think so everyone that's kind of pushing their content, I think is something that we can admire too.
Absolutely. I feel as well like energy comes across very quickly. I think it's one of the easiest things to spot in an instructor or a personal trainer is that how much they're enjoying what they're doing, like when they are really engaged in the process and you feel the energy coming from them, it's someone that you want to stick with, because that's what draws you to that person.
And people connect to different energies as well,
Yeah.
Which is a big thing. So it's just a matter of finding what, as a consumer or as a coach, what works for you. Who do you connect with the most, and who are you going to get the best out of, or how are you going to get the most out of your workout with that person? If you don't connect with them, or if you don't have that feeling, then you're not going to get as much from your workout as you could with someone that you do connect with,
So as someone that have experienced your class at One Rebel UK, and I genuinely loved it, how can I have that same experience at home with no weight? So on my body weight, how can I really have that same type of training and be able to follow on with the things that I used to experience at your classes at One Rebel UK? How can I really have that from my home now in this lockdown?
I guess creating an open space that you feel comfortable working out in, with natural light, things like that. If you are at home with anyone, getting them to sort of join in with you and doing it together and things like that, as if you were in a class working with someone side by side.
Yeah, I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Is I know we're obviously cramped in our houses with only a couple of people, but having those little moments where you can kind of come together and actually do something together, I think is sort of really important. And also just to keep setting little goals or little targets and things like that for yourself. So if you are training, and have those little goals through your session, so we can still kind of keep achieving as opposed to just ticking the boxes of exercising. Or I think that's a really big thing is still setting yourself goals in this time, not just feel like time is passing by, but actually achieving something with your time and within your workouts, or creating a bigger goal, saying someone doesn't have a full push-up, for example. In 3 months, I want to have a full push-up, and finding out the pathways and things that you can do to work on that. And it's a daily practice, and I think, all instructors or all PTs and things out there would be more than happy to guide a consumer or someone through that if it was something specific that they wanted to achieve. All the instructors I know and especially all the rebel trainers I know will do what they can to help people sort of achieve their goals, even if they're not face to face with them, but giving them guidance. So I think that's really important, is to set goals, and even if they're really small, and even if you achieve them within a few days, then you create a bigger goal and keep doing that, which I think is another way of being accountable for the training sessions that you do. And
absolutely, I think this is the thing, is that setting goals and having a plan to achieve that goal, especially that everyone have the time now to achieve whatever they want to achieve, is the key thing. And it's an amazing advice, to be honest. It's having the plan, because they say fail to prepare to fail. Like, this is something that we always really adhere to in everyday life, but even in fitness. And I think that's the thing. I think one thing that people are now discovering is that to have a good immunity, to have a really good health, you need to be really fit. You really need to exercise. And it's more apparent nowadays than any other time in history, where people who have that good fitness and good health, they're actually more immune.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with fueling your body for what you're going to do as well. Like, if you're moving and all your internal organs and things like that are working, you're creating a much more longevity, and that is through mental function and, challenging your brain and that stimulus, but also moving your body and your joints, I think is a big thing. Exercising doesn't need to put stress on your body. And I think that's another big thing, is now we have all these other stresses and anxieties from being locked up in our houses, and exercise now shouldn't be about stressing your body. It should be merely about looking after your body and creating good movement patterns and moving your joints and, lengthening out everything, creating the space and the range, and rather than putting too much stress on your body that is potentially going to weaken your immune system in the long run. It's all just about doing the good things for our body now.
So, and developing this new lifestyle for a lot of people, where they're just moving and using their body as a way, their body weight to train. I think it's definitely going to get a lot of people on the right track, I guess.
Yeah.
So Daniel, do you have any good health tips for our listeners to keep in mind as they go about their lives or their days today?
To stick to a routine and get up in the morning and start your day. It's very easy to kind of, especially as sort of self-employed, if you haven't got to be up for working from home, for example, it's very easy just to kind of take your time in the mornings and then all of a sudden it's midday and you haven't really done much. But I would say sort of get up and create a routine and set yourself tasks for the day, things that you need to tick off and achieve, and to, plan when you're going to do your workout. Okay, I'm going to tune into so-and-so at 5 o'clock for my workout today. Open your windows, especially with the beautiful weather, get some air and circulate the air around, drink lots of water, focus on your food and how you're eating your food, turn off the TV, sit down and eat your food as if you're having a nice meal with whoever's in your house. Focus on chewing your food. Your digestion starts in your mouth, not in your stomach. So chew your food, process it, and your body will be able to process that food and absorb the nutrients a lot more just by taking a little bit more time. I know we're obviously not allowed to get outside too often, but when you can get outside and obviously
come to the GFIT class with Daniel in 2 months' time.
Keep the social distance. Yeah.
For now, let's keep the social distance. But as you know, like Daniel, we've missed you last time in our GFIT, and we really can't wait to have these things really started again with you, to be honest. It's something that we were super excited to start. We're still excited that we had it. And to be honest with you, we can't wait to get that started again. We will look forward to having you in our next GFIT.
Wicked. I'm excited. Well, thank you very much for today. This has been really cool. It's been nice to be able to chat.
Thank you very much for giving us the time and wish you a lovely day. Yeah, we will be in touch with you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Another Angle. We hope you found some useful information in today's podcast. Feel free to share it with your loved ones. And please do let us know in the comments which areas or topics you would like us to discuss next. We would love to deliver that right knowledge right to you. Stay safe.